Hi guys, my name is Brittany and I'm one of the speech lab workers here at YVCC. And today I'm going to be sharing just some tips and advice for you guys as you're preparing your own speeches that will hopefully be helpful to you. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about how to prepare your introductions and just some little things that could help you do those well and effectively. So the main thing before we get into the details to remember about introductions is that they are the most important part of your speech, because this is where your audience decides to either be fully engaged or completely checked out. So this is where you really want to do a good job of hooking them in so that they can stay with you in the long haul of your speech. To do that, the main thing you want to focus on in the first couple moments of your speech is choosing a really effective attention getter. And to do that, you want to pick something that's going to catch their attention, obviously, and you can use a question, you can share a really alarming fact or a statistic, but what was really helpful for me was kind of blending two things at the same time. So what's really common is to ask a question, but I really enjoyed asking a question while using a prop. So when I did an informative speech on whole food nutrition and how it could heal the body, I took a little medicine container, like one of those little orange containers, and put a piece of broccoli in it, and I asked the class, which of you can guess what I'm going to talk about by looking at this? And we had a good little discussion, and eventually someone guessed it, about how food can heal the body, like medicine. And what's great about that kind of attention getter is that you're engaging your audience both visually and conversationally. So you're interacting with them, you're establishing a connection with them, and you're catching their visual attention. So they're more likely to kind of continue to pay attention because you engage them right from the get-go. So once you've got them hooked, really, the next part of your introduction is your purpose statement. This is kind of like the thesis of your speech. This is when you're explaining your goal of your speech, what your end product of what you're trying to communicate is, and aside from that, it's also really important to explain what your goal for the audience is in hearing what you're about to talk about. This is called the "what's in it for me" point. Basically, it just means, why should your audience care? Why should they care about what you have to say? And in this step, you really want to build a bridge from your passion and your knowledge about the subject to their lives, and explaining why is it relevant to them, why should they care about it, what can they actually get out of what you're about to say. And this just really continues to establish a connection and show that it's not just you talking about something, but that it's relevant to them, and that hopefully after hearing the speech they can take something with them and apply it. So kind of going back to my nutrition speech as an example, to do this, I said something to the effect of, I want everybody in this room to fulfill their dreams and desires without the hindrance of health problems. So it's my hope that through what I'm about to share, you'll be able to make health-conscious decisions and have healthy lives down the road so you can go after those things that you are wanting to go after. It was something to that effect. And doing that really showed them my desire for them and why I think they should pay attention. It's kind of what you're saying under the surface of that, and you're communicating how it can affect their lives, which is exactly what you're trying to accomplish in showing your purpose for the information and for them. Now, kind of in that same vein, another really important part of your introduction is establishing your credibility. And this is basically proving to the audience that you are a credible source, that you have the qualifications to speak on the subject you're about to speak on. So for example, if you were going to speak on baseball, what you could do is share something about how long you've played the sport, how long have you watched the sport, do you have anybody in your family that plays baseball, or do you know someone who does. Basically, you're showing how you are personally connected to the topic, and this just adds a lot of extra weight to what you're about to say, because you're showing the audience that, hey, I'm qualified to speak on this because of my experience or because of what I've studied. And if you're having a hard time really developing your credibility or just finding that simple statement, couple questions that I'll ask students who come into the speech lab. If I notice there's not really some credibility there, I'll ask them, well, how long have you done this? Do you have any personal experience with it, any personal education with it? If so, for how long? And basically those little questions might seem like minor details, but there have been many times when students have come into the speech lab and I'll ask them and they share a statement with me, and I immediately, as an audience person, just perk up because I'm like, wow, you've been doing that for 10 years? Like, that adds a lot of weight to what you're about to say, as someone who's not heard it before. So you really want to go after, it's just a small little detail that even if it feels minor, don't underestimate the power of that, because establishing credibility is really what's going to continue to hook them in. If I hear that someone's done or studied something for 10 years or has 10 years of experience, I'm going to listen because they know what they're talking about just because of their experience. So you really want to make sure, kind of mix in with your purpose statement, that you're weaving that in to your introduction so that your audience knows that you're a valid person who can speak on the subject. Now, once you kind of got those things in place, the last simple part of your introduction is signposting. And what this is just giving your audience like a bullet point preview of what you're actually going to cover. And the main tip that I have in this is try to make it as seamless as possible in your introduction. So instead of, you just put a lot of effort and energy and passion into explaining your purpose behind it, what you want them to get out of it, you use an attention getter, and you don't just want to go into, so I'm just going to talk about this. You really kind of want to make it seamless. So for an example of that, just some language you could use, once you've declared your purpose statement, is to accomplish this, I'm first going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. Or the first thing I'm going to discuss to get there, to get to the purpose statement, however you want to word it, is this. And just throughout your signposting, you want to make sure you're using that chronological language, like, next I'll speak about this, then I'll speak about this, and I'll end with, X, Y, Z. And it just creates a really simple roadmap for them, so they know exactly what to expect, and if they're going to be taking notes or different things like that, they know exactly where you're going and they're not going to be caught off guard, and it just gives you confidence too because you're reminded of what you're going to be talking about. So those are kind of all of the main components of an introduction. So you got your effective attention getter that hooks them in, and then you're stating your purpose statement, both for sharing the information and the what's in it for me point, how it relates to their lives. And then you also weaved in some credibility statements that makes you a really good source for talking about the topic. And then you ended with some good signposting so they know where you're going. And once you've kind of got all those in place, you're pretty much good to go. It really provides a good foundation for your speech, and just like when you build a house, if you have a really faulty foundation, it's not going to stand very well. So the introduction is kind of the foundation of your speech. It's the backbone, and you really want to spend a lot of effort into crafting that so that you can have the most successful speech that you can. So that's pretty much all I've got in regards to that. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to come by the speech lab. We are so happy to help and offer advice and look over outlines or whatever you need. Feel free to come by whenever you need help. Thanks.